Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Bird. Sorry for that. Again, we got a whole lot of buttons we have to click to get going anymore. So it was kind of a coordination thing there. So welcome in. It is, almost the middle of April already. And this is tonight's, we have a requested program from you guys. I think in particular, I know Denise Ackerman, our friend from out in Washington State, recommended this a while back, and I've been trying to squeeze it in. So we are going to do it tonight. I hope you guys have lots of questions because this is a very broad topic, and I'm going to try to do my best to cover it. And remember, north, south, east, west, we got a lot of things to consider when we're talking about nest boxes. So first off, we'll give people a chance to get in and introduce ourselves. Yes, I'm Mark McKellar, a wildlife biologist who owns the Backyard Bird Center in Kansas City, Missouri, and love doing these lives and these YouTube videos. You guys have been great supporters and allow this channel to grow and grow. Yes, that Denise is on. I see there over in the corner of my eye. She's down in Florida, so I'm glad you're on, Denise, because this is you want to know do a program all about nest boxes. So this is very timely, and we go give our, of course, people time to chime in. Melanie and Sophie, the
here we go.
Producer dog. Come on, Sophie, get up there, get on camera. Say hello, everybody. Yeah.
Hey.
She's got a lot to say tonight. She's been very talkative over here.
She wants to get in your lap.
Yeah, she wants to get in my lap now. So, which of course can be a trick.
Well, she said hi, so maybe she'll lay down. Come on.
All right. So while people are joining in, let's see who we have on tonight. I see Andrew's on from Cincinnati. Yeah, he had to cut his grass today. They haven't cut our grass here, not yet. Coral honeysuckle is a wonderful hummingbird plant. You will definitely get usage out of that. No, Andrew, I haven't got my bluebird box up yet, shamefully, but it's all the parts are here. Part of the reason why I haven't gotten it up, because I want to do a video all about the process. And there's a couple of days we tried to do it, but the wind was howling. Hell, the wind never blows in Kansas City. I know you find that hard to believe, but we couldn't record because the sound would be so bad. So we just keep putting it off. I know I've missed the first nesting, and most people around here already have eggs. So I'm hoping to get it in time for the second nesting, which is, it depends, into May or 1st of June. It just depends on how long this first cycle takes. So I'm getting it up there. Hi, Steve. I know you said you had hummingbirds recently. So you had more have arrived. Yep, a pair of tree swallows. We saw several of those today at the wetland we were bird watching at. Sandy from Kankakee, Illinois. Oh, yeah, I've been taking some pictures there. Oh, yeah, I love golden crown kinglets. You got to be a fast photographer to photograph kinglets because they are little pinballs. They go all over the place. All right, Brittany Judd from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. North parallel, the first northern parallel today, warbler. Yep, absolutely. I put out my Oriole hummingbird feeder on Sunday, and I have not had any takers yet, but they're out there waiting for them to come. They should be coming in this week. I know Dana, my friend down in Arkansas, had her first one hummingbird yesterday. We had two. A person said they had 2 Orioles here just north of Kansas City, like Saturday or Sunday. So things are starting to trickle in now. Well, weather patterns are going to change here in Kansas City. We're going to get a cold front push through, and then right after that, real quickly, the winds are going to come out of the south on Sunday, I believe. And I would think Sunday and Monday we're going to see a big push of birds into our area. Hopefully, Orioles and hummingbirds will be among those. So. All right, let's see. Ariana Emmer, hi. Mark, hey, welcome in. I think you're out in Arizona, I think. Good evening from Greenwood, Indiana. Welcome in, Kathy Sparks, a real regular visitor. Denise, like I said, you're in Florida tonight. That's great. Yeah, that's a long way from Washington State. Hope you're getting some good birds down there. Jay and Carol, both they were on the hike today. They live just north of Kansas City, up in Platte County. Yep. Absolutely. We did have a good bird hike today. We saw, it's kind of an interesting migration so far. It's still early for a wetland. We did have a lot of Wilson snipes today, and then a few shorebirds, yellow legs, greater yellow legs, and killdeer, pectoral sandpiper. So
Gotta close your email.
hold on. I got to do something real quick here because
Close window.
how do you?
You could hit close window.
Sorry, my email was open and it keeps chiming, so I had to close my email. I didn't realize it was open. Yep, it was a good hike. Hi, Carrie. Yeah, you guys have been doing some traveling. Yep, yeah, that's right. On the intro, there's 2 pictures in that intro that you can see Carrie and Kurt on our bird hikes, and then the yellow warbler at the pond is theirs in the video. Yep. Maria, is that Petrie from Morrison, Illinois? Welcome in. Hello, Kurt, right down the road. Watching with Carrie, I bet. Andrew Riggs. Hello, Carrie from Andrew, saying hi. Boston guy, welcome in from Massachusetts. Andrew says hi, Sophie. She's something else. All right, Rick, how are you? Checking in from North Carolina. All right, Stephen Jr. or Josette Jr. Hi from Northeast Illinois. Yeah, we're getting there. People are getting in here. Sandy.
Good to see producer.
Yes, producer Sophie is in the house and she's being kind of vocal over here right now. Yes, Mariette, Sophie is a Bichon Frise, absolutely, and she's almost 17 now. So she's an old girl, but still doing quite well. Hi, Ramon. Live, but been watching your videos. My first year feeding backyard birds. You got me interested. Well, Ramon, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. I love hearing that kind of thing because, it's my goal in life is to get people interested in birds and especially getting them out and looking for them beyond the backyard too. Just like we were today. Absolutely. You guys, and I am going to, again, right here, you guys that send the photographs in and allow me to use them in these programs, they are wonderful. They help me so much. And some of you are going to see your pictures in tonight's the programs too. Got several slides tonight. North Carolina question. Do bluebirds sing after the female is sitting on the eggs? I have 4 boxes with birds that have a bunch of birds singing around. Absolutely. Hummingbird's already there. That's good. Yeah, definitely the males continue to sing. With her on when she's on the nest, because he still continues to tell those other males, stay away. This is my territory. And they, of course, like I said, they go around all the points of their territory there and can sing. But they're very vocal in the morning. We were hearing them out at the wetland this morning. Hummingbird feed a couple of days ago, and absolutely time to get those feeders out now. But it's they're coming. Do house sparrows use birdhouses? Yes, they do. Unfortunately, remember, house sparrows are invasive exotic birds in this country. They're not native. They're a member of a group called the Old World sparrows. They're not true American sparrows like song sparrows and our native sparrows of this country. They were introduced, and unfortunately, Ariana, they outcompete bluebirds and many cavity nesting birds I'm going to be talking about. Yeah, so we definitely do not want them nesting in nest boxes because we don't want them to increase in numbers because they do cause decline in native bird populations. So, all right. I got something in my way there. Let me see.
You got to scroll down.
South Georgia. W.D. Moody, welcome in. Yeah, we were so lucky this morning. The wind, actually it was really cool and overcast when we first got to the wetland that we were birding at, and it was chilly. Everybody was like, ugh, we should have brought a heavier coat. Well, and then the clouds thinned out, the sun came out, and it'd be a beautiful, beautiful day. And then, not long after we left, the wind picked up. So we got real lucky on our bird hike this morning. Southern Wisconsin, welcome in, Tammy. Bluebird box have a nest going. Also think I heard that we had a brown thrasher today. Yep, absolutely. They're coming in too. I'm spying mini crab running along the beach. Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, that's not something you see very much up there. That's for sure, especially those little fiddler crabs. All right, Ramon, a new person in. We love it. Absolutely. Hi, Lisa. Welcome in. All right. We're about to get people have a chance to get in here. So I am going to start in. And what I tend to do when we do this, hello, Ellie, squirrel proof tube feeder place, filled it with this short old lady trying to lift. Yes, Ellie is not very tall. She is admitting that. That's for sure. All right. Two more questions and I'm going to get going. Southwest Oklahoma, poor financial decisions. That's hilarious. All right. Our mealworms, they are great protein for baby mocking. Now we're talking about live mealworms. Dried mealworms have less value, but they're still very, very good for them. And they, you want to have if you're going to feed dried mealworms that for the babies, the parents take the babies, you definitely need to have a source of water because they are dehydrated. So, okay. Bird houses, nest box. Now, you guys know I have done many videos on bluebird houses. Bluebirds are a major topic of discussion here on this in regularly. All right, I wanted to add that one next. Hold on. Remove that one. Here's the one I want right now. Okay. Bluebird boxes, we've done lots of programs on them and lots of placement, things like that. Well, my thought about today's program it was to talk about more cover the basics first, then talk about some of the other cavity nesting birds, and then give you some examples. And one of the things that whenever I was planning this program and doing some more extended research, because now you guys have opened up far more nest boxes for me than I've done programs on in the past, because there's so many of you guys out west and so many guys up north and all around the country. And so when I do programs now, I'm try to be very conscientious of that. And one of the things that makes nest boxes tricky is that within songbirds themselves, and even birds of prey, things like that, there's a variation in size in birds, and that is the rule of survival, and it very much is true for songbirds too. Larger body size in colder environments is better for survival. So hairy woodpeckers in Minnesota are larger than hairy woodpeckers in South Georgia. And this goes, you can name just about any birds, that's going to be true. Subspecies of blue jays are bigger in the north than they are in the south, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, when we talk about what's important, whenever you're thinking about just nest boxes, and whatever species is you're wanting to attract, first they have to be cavity nesting birds, of course, and that is they make their nest inside of holes in trees or inside structures, but inside of a cavity, as they say. Well, like I've given the example many times. I've had people come in and say, "Oh, I'm retired. I really like working with wood, and I want to build a bunch of bird houses. How big does a hole need to be for a cardinal to nest in it?" And of course, that's a trick question, because cardinals are not cavity nesting birds. So no matter how big they make the hole, you're not going to get a cardinal. So first, do your research as to what cavity nesting birds are around you. And I'm gonna defer to your local state wildlife agencies when it comes to some of these nest boxes and stuff. So I'm going to bring this. This is a classic Bluebird box, and it has features that I really love. It's my favorite box that we sell online, and that is the metal portal protector to keep animals from being able to chew that out. Squirrels, especially woodpeckers, the nest lift inside. This is one of the reason. But when we talk about what's important to the specific birds that you may be interested in, is one, what dimensions do the box needs to be. And one great way to differentiate that is the floor on the inside. And most of them are 4 by 4 inches, 5 by 5 inches, 6 by 6 inches, and they go up depending upon the size of the bird. So we have the inside dimensions, but the size of this entrance hole is really, really important too. And I love this graphic. It was on Cornell Lab of Ornithology's nestwatch.org page. And this is, if you the circles on the left are the sizes of the entrance hole: 3 inches, 2.5 inches, 1 9/16, 1.5. Now, and these are birds that will nest in the different sizes of holes opening. Remember when I've talked about before how in nest boxes, a bird feels safest and it wants that entrance hole to be just big enough for them to squeeze in. So sorry, I was doing this and I know you couldn't see it, but they want that entrance hole. The problem with that, whenever I'm telling you that, is what I just mentioned at the start. Birds in the northern environments tend to be larger than birds in the southern environments. So when I say, 1 1/4 is optimal for a chickadee, well, especially a black-capped chickadee that is carrying an egg, she needs that hole to be big enough to be able to squeeze in there. And of course, once she lays the egg, it doesn't matter if the hole's a little bigger or a little smaller. So a lot of birds choose holes that are a little larger than just being able to squeeze through for that very reason. And for a chickadee, like I said, a black-capped chickadee up north versus a black-capped chickadee here in Missouri, there might be some slight size differences. So I'm setting this all up because when I'm talking about these birds tonight, remember, if you're in Wisconsin versus or in Arizona and you're wanting to attract the bird that I'm talking about tonight, nestwatch.org is a great resource. Plus, your state wildlife agency probably has a lot of great, or the exact dimensions they recommend for the birds in Arizona or the birds in Wisconsin. So I'm going to give you an overview, but if you're really serious, you want to build some boxes or you want to get boxes for birds in your area, because remember, my default is here in Kansas City, right here in the heart of the country. So north and south, it's going to be a little bit different. So I wanted to put that out there. Like I said, I love this graphic. It shows that a lot of these birds, several birds can use the same size opening, and generally the inside dimensions of the box are pretty close to the same too. So what are the things we want to talk about nest boxes that cover all nest boxes, or pretty much all nest boxes? One of the things that gets asked a lot, of course, is should they be tree mounted or pole mounted? And I am not a fan of tree mounting bird houses for bluebirds or for many things, because they're harder to protect, and especially things from like chipmunks that will crawl up in there and break the eggs and destroy the eggs. And also, by putting a lot of these boxes on a tree, they get like bluebirds especially get intense competition. So the metal post mount on the left here is, to me, a favorite, because I like to get those bluebird boxes away from trees on a standalone post. But if that's not your species target, then we're going to talk about that on some of these upcoming slides. But for the most part, know that I don't like tree mounting for most birds. Now there are exceptions, but the tree mounting does make it harder, and invites some predation for in the nest. So we have to be careful with that. And of course, we talk about the enemy. And I know Ariana asked this right at the first about house sparrows. This is, a lot of people know that house sparrow battle whenever they're in several species, not just bluebirds. This is a house sparrow nest on the left. They've filled the box completely full. And up at the very top of the box, right at the entrance hole, there's a tunnel for them to go down and lay their eggs. Well, this, of course, is impossible for a bluebird or any other bird to tear that nest out of there to make the box as they want you. So you have to be able to claim that. And bluebirds especially have that little perfect grass nest. Different birds have different kind of nests. If that's a chickadee nesting in that bluebird box, she's got moss and dog hair, and so different nests look differently. But just know that you watch what's going in that box. Is a chickadee going in and out of it, then there's a chickadee pretty much nesting in it. If the house sparrows have it filled to the brim like that, we ask you to rip that nest out and rip that, because if you want those bluebirds to nest in there, you definitely don't want the house sparrows nesting in it, because they negatively impact so many native birds. So one thing is going on right now, people are battling the house sparrows, and they've ripped out and ripped out and ripped out. And understand that. We talk to prop the door open and leave it open after you've cleaned it out for 3 or 4 days, some day of the week, and encourage them, try to make those house sparrows move on to another site, and then give them a few days, close it up, see if the bluebirds will claim it then. And again, the house has to be the optimal size for them, but there's lots of different sizes of houses, and there's lots of birds that we want to attract. So bluebirds is the classic, and we started with that. So we know we want them. What we do is emulate nature. We want them facing east, southeast, or the morning sun in the box. We don't want the north wind or the wet, hot afternoon sun blaring in the box. So orientation is important. We prefer them on poles, mostly for the most part, over trees. We know that entrance hole needs to be their optimum size, and we're going to talk about several of those in the inside dimensions. So some of the basics are true for all of them. They need to be protected. You take what you can, precautions you can. Just again, alone, just putting it on a metal pole away from trees is affording more protection, just because I think it's harder for animals to climb those poles. And if you want to put baffles on the poles, that's great. I'm not telling you have to put baffles on the poles, because that's an investment, but it's good to put baffles on poles to prevent things like rat snakes and raccoons climbing them. You want the height of the pole, the height of the hole to be a minimum 4.5, even 5 feet off the ground. And a lot of these birds prefer it to be even taller. People ask me about that all the time. Why don't we mount them 10 foot? Well, you can mount birdhouses 10 feet, but remember, that's going to be harder for you to maintain, which is really important, cleaning it out. We know that, ectoparasites that can take over a nest, blowflies, and some of those parasites you don't want in it that suck the blood out of the babies. And if they hatch and they move on, and you don't clean out the nesting material, a lot of times those ectoparasites get passed on to the next nest. I get asked a lot about cleaning boxes. How do you clean boxes? Really, they recommend hot water. And if you want to do a mild soap or a 50-50 vinegar water to clean it out, but if you're going to do any kind like that, you need to rinse it really, really well, and you need to let it air dry, because baby birds, their respiratory systems are very, very sensitive, and you don't want any kind of acidic smell or anything lingering in there that can impact their respiratory system. So yes, clean out your boxes. It's kind of funny, but because when you delve into it and research, and there's been lots of studies done for especially with bluebirds, because they're so popular, about them not wanting to use their old nesting material. We know they won't use it, and they build new nest on top of the old nest, and they'll fill the box up. But in some studies, they show that bluebirds highly favor boxes that are completely cleaned out and nothing in it. And other studies show that they like it when there's nesting material in there. I think the easiest thing is to clean the bluebird nests out and other nests. You don't have to worry about things like house wrens, because house wrens, they clean out their boxes for you. And that's the first other box that I'm going to go about. Because remember that chart, I'm starting with the smallest diameter openings, then the smallest boxes, and then I'm going to work my way up here. But there are several birds that will nest in a house wren sized house. 1 1/8 inch hole. And it's funny, I've got pictures of house wrens, of course, going in and out of bluebird boxes, things like that. So they'll take advantage of whatever nest boxes there are. But classic wren houses and brown-headed nuthatches, red-breasted nuthatches, those are tiny birds. And again, so small holes are great for them. But studies have shown a lot of these birds do nest in larger size openings. And so what I'm saying is not an exact science. And all I can do is recommend what has really been proven to be the favorite, but know that there's going to be, if people say, oh, my house wren's nested in my Bluebird boxes. Yes, they will do that. There's lots of birds. The thing that won't happen, of course, is you're not going to get a starling, which requires an inch and a 2-inch opening. It's not going to nest in a wren house because the hole is so small, and that's of course part of that minimum size hole before those birds can squeeze in is safer for them for sure. And the next size up, this is the tiniest of the tiny, the 1 1/8 inch or even 1 inch diameter hole, especially in the southern part of the house wren range. And then the next size up are the chickadees. The chickadee boxes are about a 1 1/4, and some of them you'll see 1 3/8. But I don't know anybody that stocks so many different size portal protectors. For the most, portal protectors are 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 9/16. So in a chickadee box, and I said chickadees because you've got chestnut back chickadees in the west, mountain chickadees in the mountains, and high elevation states, and black cap chickadees and Carolina chickadees. Now, Carolina chickadees are a little bit smaller than black cap chickadees. So this rule of a 1 1/4 inches, that's why I recommend, if you're in Mississippi and you want to know what size hole they recommend in that area for Carolina chickadees, you may want a little bit smaller than 1 1/4, and see what they recommend down there. But titmice will use the same size hole, and the bright yellow bird in the middle is not a goldfinch. That is a prothonotary warbler, which is absolutely stunning bird, and they will use boxes of this size. What separates them out a lot of time, of course, is habitat. Chickadees and titmice are going to be pretty close to habitat, but the prothonotary warbler, you needed water. And I know Kurt's one of his dream birds for his yard. He would love to have prothonotary warblers nesting there. You got to have water. They are the other name for prothonotary warbler. Peterson suggested it should be called the golden swamp warbler. I've had them called swamp canaries, and they all kind of different nicknames for swamp candles. I've heard them called. Just a beautiful bird, but they are cavity nesters, and they will nest in this size of a box.
That's where you were. I had you on your place. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
My producer's over here. All right. So back to about the 1 1/2 inch box or 1 3/8 inch boxes, the classic Bluebird boxes, the Eastern Bluebird boxes. Tree swallows we saw tons of them today, and they were going in and out of swallow boxes that are placed all along the edge of the water. This the wetland we were at today, I think is this Lisa's picture? Lisa McKay's picture, I think this is, of the tree swallows. And there's different designs. The tree swallow peoples have their preferences. I've had many people just have the tree swallows nest in a Bluebird box they put up. But the tree swallow people, they want they want them a little bit bigger. They want a good 5 by 5 inch nest, and I've had some even see 6 by 6 with the tree swallows inside. They do like the slot type boxes, or these with multiple holes, because the babies will stick their heads out several at a time. And to do that is another thing I want to mention, of course, is to make sure if you use a wood or you buy a birdhouse, that the inside of the door is very slippery. Now, wood, if it's like a wood box, the texture of the grain is usually enough. But if you want to make sure that those babies can grip hold of that when they're before they even learn to fly, when they're moving around that box and wanting to stick their head out, make sure that that's scored on the inside. You can see this one's scored on the outside, or rough it up with some sandpaper so that you got things for and it doesn't, believe me, these birds don't weigh hardly anything at all. So their little nails can cling to scoring and also just rough wood. So make sure you do that, because those babies are going to beg for food. So tree swallows, and of course out west, violet green swallows use this size box as well. High elevation swallows, beautiful birds, but they, not like I said, I have to be inclusive of other birds other than just the ones here in Missouri. Now, the next size up, which from the Bluebird box up, are the great crested flycatchers, ash-throated flycatchers, and mountain bluebirds. Mountain bluebirds are larger than eastern bluebirds and larger than western bluebirds, and so their boxes need to be a bit bigger, and of course the hole needs to be bigger. Great crested flycatchers are the we put this size box up in our area, and they need to be high up in a tree. If you can get them up pretty good high. I've seen them nest down low, but they really like it up about 10 feet up in a tree. And you've heard me talk about this bird before. You know that they have a defense mechanism that they pick up snake skin and they bring it in and they drape it so that it's draping out the outside of that hole. Again, to discourage any would-be intruder to come to the box. They see the snake skin and say, "Oh." And a natural fit. It's really cool. Great crested flycatchers, fantastic birds. Out west, you have ash-throated flycatchers, the myarchids, that nest in this size box. And if you're looking to attract things differently to your yard, something different, this is a great chance on that for a box like that. And then we get up to bigger boxes, up to 3 inches in diameter. And that, things like Eastern Screech Owls and American Kestrels nest in this size box. Out in the open country, on the side of an old shed or a pole, we got kestrels are more likely in the woods. Eastern Screech Owls use the size box. We've had them use them in a yard we used to live in. Wonderful little birds, and again, just great additions to your yard for sure. And then the biggest box that we talk about here, the wood ducks. There are several cavity nesting ducks. Most people don't think of that when they think of ducks. They think of them in nest in the grass, like the Canada geese and mallards famously do. Whereas the tree ducks, like wood ducks, hooded mergansers, common goldeneye here, they will nest in this size type cavity. And notice that the hole on this is oblong because ducks are flat like this, so it's easier for them to get in and out of it. So if you've got property and you've got water nearby, the wood ducks are known to nest as far as a mile from water. And when those babies fledge and they come flying down or floating down out of the box, the females will march them, like I said, up to a mile to water. So they waddle through the woods and across highways and everything else to get to streams or ponds or lakes like they do. And it's pretty amazing. They very successfully nest over water. If you've got a pond that's got some old dead timber in it, you can attach wood duck boxes to it. That makes them very much safer from raccoons and things. So there's definitely that size box out there. So just an overview of the kinds of boxes that are out there and the general guidelines as far as placement and protection. They're wonderful. I do have this book that I showed once before, and it's on the website, but Making Bird-Friendly Birdhouses is a really good guide. If you're into making your own birdhouses, there are great plans in here, and it covers most of the birds I've covered here, and then some. And then another thing I brought in just to remind me to talk about it is portal extenders to go on the face of your Bluebird box. Come on, go over here. Okay, so it makes it harder for predators to reach in. And this one has perches on it to make it easier for them because this is a very slick material. It's hard plastic, so they're getting in and out of there. But it keeps raccoons, if they get up onto the box trying to reach in to get to the birds inside. So these are kind of things are good ideas to make birds safer. So we are going to now go to the questions because I know a lot of people have been asking. I am sorry if did I ramble on too long? No, not too bad. I'd like to try to keep those to about 20 minutes whenever I do that kind of. Hello, Frontier from Southern California. Welcome in. Jim K from Minneapolis. Welcome in. Oh, yeah. Sophie's now gone to her kennel. Yep. Melanie finally took her up. That's for sure. That was her whining. If you put a bird box on a pole, how far from a house as feeders should they be placed? Baffle be put to. Okay. But Ramon, I know my people heard me say this a lot. Mother Nature doesn't provide birds baffles in natural nest cavities. There's no baffles on trees and things like that. But yes, if you're putting it on a pole, which I recommend, out away from a tree, especially remember bluebirds. Now, other birds like wren houses that hang from tree limbs, and there's a lot of birds that and great crested flycatchers attached to the side of a tree, et cetera, et cetera. Now, but if you're going to put a bluebird pole out on a metal post, I recommend a baffle if you can afford it and are willing to, because baffles can be expensive. But there are a lot of, I can't tell you the countless thousands of bluebirds are fledged every year from boxes that don't have baffles on it. It is a great idea, but you don't have to do it. I don't like putting my bluebird houses close to feeders. One, because the males it'll drive them crazy whenever all that activity from other birds coming and going. But I like to have the distance 20, 30 feet, 40 feet away from the bird feeder stations. If you can do that, remember the bluebirds like the open area. So usually your bird feeders are placed near cover to increase the appeal to birds. They feel safer coming into it. So if you can get that bluebird house out in the open, and then your feeders near cover, that probably works best. Okay. Okay. Hi, Mark. Oh, from Belton. Hey, Jan, you're welcome in. As are irritated with me working in the garden, my feeder. Yeah, you have most weeded. I'm jealous of everyone with bluebirds. Yeah, it is funny. Some birds are so completely tolerant of humans in their yards and doing things, and some are not. And near feeders, near houses, things like that. It's just instincts for them. Absolutely. My black-capped chickadee has been excavating my nest box for the last week, just waiting for moths to know it's time to go. Yeah, and dog hair. They do love that. I read as 2005, there were only 28 individual planetary forms. Oh, wow. Most nesting in shorely. That's right. They're a southern bird. Absolutely, Lisa. The prothonotary are the golden swamp warbler. I always tell people in North Carolina, once in college and stuff, when I really started bird watching, I realized that every bridge I crossed over in my home county, where swamps and beaver pond areas and stuff, all I had to do was slow down, and every one of those bridge crossings, I'd hear prothonotary sing it. Once you learn that song, sweet, 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 they are all over the southern swamps, definitely. Carolina chickadees have eggs in the one bluebird box. Excellent. Yep. I think Carrie and Kurt have a chickadee claiming one over their boxes. Where is the best place to put a bird box? Next to a tree on a pole by itself. That came in while I was talking, I'm sure. So yeah, for most boxes, like I said, especially for bluebirds, on a pole away from the trees, and wren houses hanging from trees. Small birds, a lot of the brown-headed nuthatch boxes can be on trees or on poles as well. I just think you can better protect the box if it's on a pole, but know that most of them nest in trees anyway. So that they're safe in both places. Just whatever conscious it drives you. Hello, Brian from Leavenworth. He kept my list today on the bird hike. As always, I keep as many as 10 poles around my place. I didn't watch where the bluebirds like to sit. That's a great idea. And we'll then put a house on that pole, as I have to move more houses. That's great. That's a great theory, Rick. I like that. Yeah, they love perching up and then flying down and getting their food and going back out. And favorite perch places are generally going to be good for them for nesting, for sure. Hi, Mike from West Virginia. Tree swallows nest in my bluebird boxes. Then I get last season bluebirds in the late. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. My brother lived in southeastern Kentucky for a few years, and he had tree swallows nesting in one bluebird box at one end of his yard and bluebirds nesting in the box there. Remember, those two can get along. they don't compete for the same food source. So putting 2 bluebird boxes, if you've got both species, you can put 2 bluebird boxes out on post in open areas. And, I've seen people put them back to back, but I really like to have at least some distance between them. They don't compete for the same food source, so they get along pretty well. Michael Cover, what about the predator birds? They need food. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cooper's hawks, sharp-shinned hawks, American kestrels, owls. They're going to get their food, and so yeah, we just want to give birds a chance. All of them an equal chance, and believe me, predators, especially Cooper's hawks and those guys. They use the element of surprise, and having cover close by is helpful, but they get their share, believe me. They're very effective predators. Yes, time to get them out right now. Pretty much all across the southern 2/3 of the U.S. should be getting their hummingbird feeders out now. All right. They do love fences. Yeah, absolutely. People, especially people with land, property, farmers and things, bluebird houses on fence rows are very effective. 100 yards apart, and you can have several. Something wrong with fences is, of course, they're not very tall. So I recommend if they, getting that hole up at about 4.5 feet, you might have to attach a post to a fence post to get it up tall enough for it to be safer. Found a northern flicker nest down the street from me next to a baseball field. Yep,
that's cool.
That is cool. Flickers, and I'm glad they're nested. The starlings haven't run them off. That's the biggest problem that those guys have. How to help ground nesters, boy, Mike, that's a tough one. There's not a lot you can do. You give them places to go. They need taller grasses, so areas that aren't mowed. Fence rows, don't mow the grass and weed eat the fit under your fence. Try to give them some nesting habitat available to them. Having worked with bobwhite quail right out of college, we knew how important it was to have enough grasses that tumble over so they can make those dome nests underneath the clumps of grasses. So yeah, ground nesting birds are hurting a lot because there's a lot of danger there, not to mention rain and everything else. So
I think we're caught up.
Oh, we're caught up. All right.
First time in a long time.
Yeah. I'm the only point I was on that. I'm sorry. I'm going to take a swallow. My beloved Coke Zero. No, I don't get paid for that endorsement. Sorry.
Do you want to tell them about the shirt?
Well, Melanie and I have something to unveil that we just got in today. And let's see, one of our Mark's Bird Nerds T-shirts, and they're going to be available for too long. This was just the sample that we ordered, and to see what the print's going to look like. So that's going to be up on the online. So, I really like it. Yeah, it's very soft material. A good one to do that. So wanted to plug that in there before we sign off. Let's see, Rick, we have 125 acres and 45 acres. You have lots of fence. Yes, you do. I bet you have lots of bluebirds too. That's a lot of opportunity for bluebirds. Oh, thank you, Ellie. Yes, and she's so much. You guys are so much better than we are about reminding you. If you like the videos, please give us a thumbs up. If you get a chance to share them, spread the word. Like I said, we're growing. We just topped 17,000 subscribers, and for somebody talking about birds, we're pretty proud of that, and we appreciate your support. If you're on Facebook, you can do the hearts and the thumbs up. Any way you can helps us. Coke Zero is the best. Absolutely. The Chickadee shorts didn't make it tonight. No. Have I not talked about water? And then have I gone a whole program and not talked about water and putting out water? I'm planting a hedgerow around the perimeter of my side yard, 9-bark dog. Oh, good ones. Yep. Arrowwood viburnum, elder. So far, those are all wonderful plants. Native. I've got lots of programs on it. I have my friend Aunt Mary Demasek on, and we make suggestions on native plants. The lazy side. Don't forget to plant those native plants. All right, exactly. Yes, if you want to feed baby birds, plant native vegetation because that's where the native insects are laying their eggs and they're hatching into caterpillars. And it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of caterpillars to feed a nest full of chickadees, just one nest of chickadees. So, yes, native vegetation and so much of, cultivars, as we call them, that plants are introduced in this country, native insects don't do anything with them. They're dead zones for insects, which means they're dead zones for birds, unfortunately. Great advice, lazy side, like that. Thank you, Mark. You're welcome, Kathy. Thank you. We love birds, and we're so glad that you guys are excited enough to join into these programs and want to learn more and do what you can to help. It's great. And I get emails all the time, and you guys are telling me how you're just getting into it and you discover the channel and it really helped you to grow the hobby, and you're attracting bluebirds now you never could before. I get those things. Those emails mean so much to me. I really, really thank you, and the comments that on the channel, it makes me think. It makes me know I'm doing the right thing. That's so important. I just bought a hanging bird bat today. Is it okay to have it on my feeder station? What Shepherd took about? What the problem's going to be if you put it on a pole with your feeders is you're going to get a whole lot of holes in that bird bath. It's going to get dirty in the wind blowing and birds deshelling. And now if you feed Holoseed, maybe not quite as bad, but it's no problem for the birds for that water to be right there on their feeder station. Usually it's a maintenance issue for you. It makes it a little harder. We have just one bird nest box. Laura says here, does that cause too much competition between the birds? If you've got that much acreage, I'm sure there's plenty of natural cavities, woodpecker holes in the wood in your timber, and it just depends on the size of the box. Like I try to show different birds that nest in the same cavity, so the same size hole. So if that box is 1.25. Chickadees may be in competition with a tufted titmouse for that hole, but not the dominant birds. What's going to happen is one chickadee is going to claim that territory around that box. So he's not going to allow any other chickadees in there to do that. So if you want more nesting opportunities, yes, you need to spread those boxes apart, and then you can have multiple chickadees nesting. But their territories are only going to let there be one pair of birds during the nesting season around that nest box. Washington, we don't even seem to have many native plants. Yes, you are definitely in the dry part of Washington State. Yeah, again, I would definitely consult your local state. In Missouri, we have what's called grownative.org. It's a great resource for the native plants and recommendations on planting. I would hope they would have something up there. I know for South Carolina at our beach house, we looked up what recommended native plants for the beach house down there. You're welcome. All right, Sandy. Ramon, put the thing back near. Yeah. Yes. Hanging near cover. Again, I know there's predators, but they feel safest when baths and food are close to cover, and they'll use it more readily when they feel safe. They can sit in the cover and wait and then go out and drink from the bird bathe and get back into the cover. That escape cover is really, really important. You're right, Sandy.
I think we're caught up. No, wait a minute. There's one more.
Hi, Jolie. Welcome in. No better way to wake up to a Carolina Wren song than that. Absolutely. Sets the mood for the day. I've told this before when I was in college and we lived 6 weeks out in open air cabins in wildlife school. There was a Carolina Wren that nested underneath our cabin. And the very first bird I heard every morning was that male Carolina Wren. And then right after that, he'd kind of get my eyes open and the wood thrush would start singing. Best alarm clocks I ever had in my life. Those just beautiful. And I love listening to them still to this day. Never get tired of listening to a Carolina Wren. So, well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support of the channel and your participation with these programs. Send in ideas for future ones. Denise, this one was because your suggestion, and I really do appreciate it. I'm going to do a species profile on prothonotary warblers. That was recommended recently. And then somebody wanted just do more about warblers, show us more warblers, teach us more about warblers. So I'm going to have one coming up all about wood warblers here in this country. And the difference between our warblers and the old world warblers is pretty significant. So I want to talk about that as well. So, and if there's a topic, I like I said, I know sometimes the biology type programs don't get the views that a bird feeding one does, because there's more people, we lose some people whenever I talk about the biology part of it, but I'm glad you guys like them, because I love talking about it, and I love people learning more, and they want to expand their knowledge. The one I did on migration recently, I know people were saying, "Oh, I love that you went more into the science on that," which was great. I see somebody posted they got their book, the Scott Weidensaw book I recommended.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate that.
Mary Ann or somebody like that.
Mary Ann Velez, yeah.
Okay,
maybe.
where is Brittany at? Was she around here? Or?
Brittany is in Cape Girardeau, right?
Okay.
I'm trying to find some established native. Missed the sale at the Nature Center last month. Look up wildflower. What is it? Is it native wildflower? The Missouri Native Wildlife Nursery is in Jefferson City, and that's who sponsors our. We get all our plants from for our native plant sales, and then we have ours coming up the last week in April. Yeah, we're going to be gone actually for it, but the store sponsors, they're out front selling the plants. But that look up the Missouri Native Wildflower Nursery. They will ship them to your house, Brittany, right to you, and they quality stuff, absolutely great stuff. Cardinals is doing the feeder, absolutely. You're welcome, Carol and Jay.
How this is
absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
I enjoy the biology.
Good. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I shy away, and I shouldn't, because I know I want to do one on the bird's respiratory system sometime soon, because I get questions about that. Yes. I know, Lisa, you guys going up to Point Paley. I'm definitely jealous of that. Absolutely. Absolutely, Carrie. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, this is interesting.
Native plants on Etsy. I would definitely, yes. Don't trust. And I would talk about native plants. So things we want local genotypes. You want native plants that are from your area, because there are plants that may grow in your area, but if you get them from northern Nebraska or somewhere like that, they might not do as well in the soils where you are. Even though they are native to the U.S. So definitely look for sources that have local genotypes. Like I said, for Missouri, the Missouri Wildflower Nursery is the best place I know.
Kurt said that Grow Native.
Yes, Grow Native is a terrific site for information.
Quick question.
Do decoy? Yes, absolutely. Purple martins are social birds, and they see that decoy up there on that box, and I've seen those martins land right beside that decoy and just chatter away like they're talking to him, and talking about the weather. You're welcome, Brittany. Glad to help.
I love this one.
It's Cardinal o'clock. Yes, ma'am, it certainly is. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate you guys joining in. Thanks so much. Send in ideas for more programs, because we want to talk about what you want us to talk about. Until next time, let's talk birds.